All right, so this module is all about how we handle data input and output in Node.js. Not how we persist it, but how we handle data flowing throughout the systems. All right. Now, that data, when we work with web applications and web services, of course, we know one of the most important things that we're going to work with is the information that comes in and flows through our system, and we do different things with it, and then we send that data back, or that information back, or responses back in some other format of data. All right, so some of the forms of data that you'll work with in web applications is text, JSON, strings, binary buffers, and data streams. All right, so we'll talk about each of those in turns with the exception of text because it's self-explanatory. But however, Node.js is a beautiful thing because it has a lot of embedded modules or built-in mechanisms for us to handle data I/O very efficiently and effectively. Okay, so the first one we'll talk about and discuss is what we call JSON. All right, JSON is one of the most common data types that you'll work with in your web applications. And JSON simply stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Right? JSON is just basically a very lightweight language syntax that allows us to convert JavaScript objects to strings and from strings back to JavaScript objects. This is very similar to the concept that we call serialization in .NET and Java. All right. Some of the reasons that you might want to work with JSON instead of XML. XML was the format that we used to use previously, but JSON is much more efficient and it takes fewer characters. It's actually faster to serialize and deserialize JSON objects than when you're using XML. And it's actually easier to read because it's just basically a form of JavaScript syntax, or very similar to the JavaScript syntax. All right, so with that, let us take a look at how we actually use the JSON module and how we convert from JSON to JavaScript objects. So in this example, what you see is we have a string because we see the single quotes, and this string contains a JavaScript object. So if we had serialized this object, we would see this saved, and we serialized it and saved it with JSON. We would see this representation of it in our storage mechanism. All right, so basically we have an object. So there's our object syntax inside of the string. This object has the properties name, members, numbers, and location. So for the property name, we have the value Jedi. For the property members, it stores an array containing the values Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Adrian. Yes, I am a Jedi. And the number property contains the value 34513, and location contains the value a galaxy far, far away. All right, so we're going to use json.parse. So json.parse is our function for converting from a string back to a JSON object. So we're deserializing it. All right, so we're passing json.parse a count string. All right, so that's our string right here. So we're passing it to our json.parse, and json.parse is going to convert it back to an object, all right, and store it in account obj. So now you see we can call .name and .members on account obj because it is the actual object containing those properties. So if we run this, we should see Jedi, and we should see Yoda, Obi-Wan, and Adrian. All right, so let's run it. There we go. So we're able to access the properties on that object once we've parsed that string back into a JSON object. All right, now let's take a look at going the opposite way, which is from JS to JSON. All right. All right, so here we have a JavaScript object called account obj. So this is an object. You should be familiar with this from core JavaScript, but it has a property name, number, members, location, contains Baggins, 10645, an array containing Frodo and Bilbo, and the location value is Shire. All right, so we use the stringify method to convert a JavaScript object to a string. So json.stringify, we pass it account obj, and this is a string containing that object's string representation. All right, so if we run that one, there's our string representation of that value. And notice how it puts the um, quotes around the property name. So that's the valid syntax for JSON. We put quotation marks around the property names. All right. So when we come back, we will talk about buffers, and then we'll talk about streams. Take care.